You are at the Net. Welcome to another episode of At the Net podcast, brought to you by Tex-Mex Productions. On the soundboards, moving the dials and buttons, are producers D. Mac and Dave the Brain. Join me in welcoming your hosts, Craig Bell and AJ Chabria, who are talking tennis, what is trending, and maybe even life as it seems to them. Ladies and gentlemen, Craig and AJ.
Thanks to our At the Net podcast girl for that fabulous introduction, and welcome fans of the great game. You're listening to Season 1, Episode 39. Can you believe it's 39, AJ?
Unbelievable.
Man, of At the Net podcast with AJ Chabria. That's you, right?
That would be me.
Yeah, AJ Chabria, is you sure?
Yes, sir.
Okay, AJC. And CB1, that's me, Craig Bell, who are talking the great game of tennis as it
seems to us.
Thanks also go out to our good amigos at Tex-Mex Productions. That would be Darian D. Mac McBrayer and Dave the Brain DeLeo from back of the house, who are on the soundboards, moving the dials and buttons to make us sound like real people tonight.
We are real people.
Yes.
You can see us, most of you.
Yes.
And our produced version, they'll just be able to hear us, but we assure you,
we are sequestered in the bunker somewhere.
We're in the bunker.
In an undisclosed location like Art Bell, my namesake Art Bell.
It's basically a tunnel between our two houses.
That is
so in a way, we kind of live together, so we can be under 6 feet
right.
if we wanted to.
We're like family.
We're like family.
That's right.
And I touched my own face earlier, and I'm just not afraid to admit it, pal. Sorry.
Also, be sure to check out our good work on Fireside, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor, Breaker.
You love Breaker.
Breaker. CastBox, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, and Spotify. Basically, all the important communication sites that you kids find your podcasts at, right, AJ?
That's it. Anywhere you get it.
And if you're a female and like to do our opening intro for At the Net podcast and be an At the Net girl, hey, let us know. We're always looking for really good voices. And
sorry, guys, there's just enough guys on this on the hosting side of this microphone.
Yep.
So we like to spread it out a little bit and have female voices too.
That's right. Well, AJ, this might be our best episode to date, I think.
This is going to be awesome.
This is going to be awesome. We are privileged. Who cares about The Last Dance and Michael Jordan tonight? You know, have you heard of that guy, Michael Jordan?
I've heard of him. 90s, whatever, basketball. Yeah. He's my kind of person. Champion, skills,
right.
Practice, all that stuff. But I'm excited about this show.
He's kind of a big deal in the basketball world. But we're talking the great game of tennis tonight. And there's just two ladies that come to mind, and they live here in Dallas, Texas with us. And that would be Carol Wayman and Cindy Brinker Simmons of the Maureen Connolly Brinker Foundation, Little Mo Tennis. I mean, you name it, these ladies are on fire, aren't they?
Massive names in tennis, and we're so proud to have you all on the show. Thank you both.
Yes, Carol and Cindy, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, we are
so
really
to be here.
Well, we were happy to have you when you all agreed to do this. I was really looking forward to this date of May 3rd, 2020, because I know what the great game of tennis means to all of us here on the podcast, but to have you all on this podcast this evening, it just means a lot to us. And so thank you very much. Carol is the Executive Vice President of the MCB Foundation. You've been doing that for, a long time, right, Carol?
Right. Sure. Thanks, Craig, AJ, for having us. 30 years, celebrated 30 years last year. Started with Maureen Connolly Brinker Tennis Foundation in '89. So, it's been great. It's flown by.
Just a short 30 years, right?
Yeah, quickie.
30 years.
And then before that, you were a tournament director of the Virginia Slims of Dallas. You did some World Championship tennis. You also got a degree at LSU. Go Tigers, right? Are you pretty excited about the Tiger football season?
Oh, yeah. We had a great year, didn't we, with Joe Burrow? Yeah, it's very exciting.
Yeah.
We didn't have that kind of winning season when I was there in the 70s, that's for sure.
Well, you've all always been a great football program, storied football program at LSU. We'll get into your story just a little bit more here in a minute. And then we also have Cindy Brinker Simmons. I was thinking about, I was telling Adrian, I don't know which way to go. I mean, you've got not only one famous parent, but two famous parents. I mean, how do you distinguish between, Little Mo and Norman Brinker? I mean, that's they both got Wikipedia pages. You know? I mean, that's pretty awesome, isn't it?
I tell you, Craig and AJ, first of all, thank you so much for having Carol and me on tonight. We're the ones that are honored and privileged, truly. And yes, to answer your question, I marvel that I had two such remarkable people as parents. And what I say about my mom is she was a remarkable woman who just happened to be a very good tennis player. Because her character was so extraordinary and so deep and so thoughtful, kind, and had such a great view of being other-focused, not self-focused. And my dad the same way, so humble, so gracious. Just besides just being, yes, he was good in business, but he was good in life. He lived and loved well. My parents had a wonderful marriage, short though it was, but I'm so blessed. I really am. So I marvel, and I'm grateful to God for that, truly.
Two great parents. And I just want to know how you got to the University of Virginia. Growing up around these parts, how'd you get out to be a Cavalier?
All the way out to UVA, yeah.
I tell you, I was looking at lots of schools because I was playing tennis at that time, and I was fortunate that a number of schools were interested in me potentially attending their grand universities. But when I went to UVA, there was just a remarkable look to it. There was a feel to it. And the gentleman who was recruiting me, Gordon Burris at the time, who ended up being for years and just retired after almost 60 years at UVA, was the tennis coach at the time, but then ended up being the assistant to the president. He just really took to me and really encouraged me and was just involved in me getting to UVA. And I just felt like that was a good fit for me. So, and it's interesting because in 1970, it was still a men's college, a university. I mean, it was an all-men's school until 1970. And then in 1970, they opened University of Virginia for women to enroll. So my dad is convinced that this 5-to-1 ratio, male to female ratio, is what finally lured me to going to UVA versus other universities. Now I said, no, Dad, no, this male-female ratio had nothing to do with it. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. But it sure was fun to be part of developing their tennis program at UVA. That was a real joy for me.
And you're still involved.
And it was a great goal besides. Go Cavs.
Yeah.
Go Hoos.
And you're still involved with the University of Virginia, are you not? You're on the board of trustees, or aren't you still doing some stuff?
Yes, I'm on the board of the Virginia Athletics Foundation.
Okay.
So we handle all the athletics and scholarships. It's a very exciting time to be involved with any sort of athletic program at any university. And at a Power 5 school like UVA, it's quite challenging, but very exciting to be able to give back to the university because it gave me so much.
Were you thinking about ever going to school around here locally? Did you think about? Or was University of Virginia? You really? I know you went to Green Hill School. And that's a very prestigious private school in the area. So smart. You're academic. Were you looking at any other schools? Just out of curiosity.
A great question. I really wasn't looking at a Texas school. I was ready to expand. I was ready to go elsewhere. I was ready to make my own mark because in reality, whenever I played tennis, it was always Cindy Brinker, daughter of the late great tennis champion Maureen Connolly Brinker, even though I did have a fairly good career. I had high ranking, but it was fun to go someplace that I could. My victories were mine and my defeats were mine. And so it was fun to go someplace that people really didn't know my background, and I could just be me. And although I'm so proud of my heritage, my legacy, to your point, just to have a mom and dad like I had, I'm just so proud of them and want to continue to propel their legacies and be part of perpetuating those legacies. But in college, I never looked at Texas. I really looked at schools outside Texas just to be able to expand my horizons.
Well, I know that both of you are both in the communications world. You earned a degree at UVA in a BA in communications and Espanol. I guess you habla Espanol.
Espanol, yes. I loved it. I double majored, that's right, Craig, in Spanish and in communications. And I actually could have maybe even gotten a triple major in English because at that time the communications program was somewhat fledgling. It was real nascent because, as I said, women just started going to UVA in 1970, so the communications program was also young. But I read a lot and studied great writers and great communicators, and we did a lot of public speaking in that communications program, which has really been so important for me and has helped me be a more effective communicator. post-college. So I really enjoyed having those two majors, communications and Spanish, because I also use my Spanish quite a bit still. Being back in Texas, you do use your Spanish. So
you do. I always wonder about people who learn Spanish in a state like Old Virginia. Like, how do you pronounce the R? Do you go with the Virginian or do you roll it?
Yes, they do have their own language. It's a very Southern language. Yeah. You are so right. And my dad said I did come back with a little bit of that Southern civility in my language.
Love it.
I just, being in Virginia for 4 years was so amazing. And yes, I ruled my Virginia.
I love it.
It's also how you kind of soften when you say that.
Yeah, a little breath to it, right? There's some breath.
It was a great experience. I'm so grateful I went there. And literally when I went there, it was a great place for anyone who had any sense of entrepreneurship or wanted to help develop programs, which I did to help develop the tennis program. It was just a great time to be there because the university was so open for any suggestions to, as a woman, to be involved. I started a sorority there. I started the Kappa Delta. There were 3 student athletes. We did that, and it was just a wonderful time for my personality to be at UVA, and I am grateful beyond measure for that university to be my alma mater.
And Carol, you went to LSU. Obviously, we were just talking about that.
Yeah.
You got a BS degree. Did you get a degree in marketing and communications?
No, I wish. Those degrees weren't really offered back then. It was basically teaching or nursing or being a secretary for our women's choices, unfortunately. So I chose teaching, and now I went to LSU, but I didn't play tennis there. I played on the sorority league, so I think, I majored more in sorority, I think, than anything else. But now I grew up playing tennis in Shreveport, Louisiana, and I always loved it. Actually, Ryan Harrison's grandfather was my coach at Byrd High School, and we had some success. It was all new to me. Tennis was just starting really in the 1970s, early 70s, to be popular. That was the only actual sport for girls at my high school was tennis. So I was immediately drawn to it, loved it, and we had some success. We won the state championship 3 times. I was with a partner, Philip Campbell. I don't know if anybody served with him, but he was a great partner, and so, but I didn't pursue it after that like Cindy did. Unfortunately, I just, went to college and was going to teach school, I guess, and didn't really have a plan much to say. And I knew I was moving to Dallas. That was really my first goal, is to get to Dallas and try to figure out what I wanted to do. And never dreaming in a million years I'd be working in tennis. I always loved it, but you just didn't think like that. I wish I had gone into, wish there had been a marketing degree or public relations or something like that, what Cindy was in, because we both love people, and I think that would have been a wonderful degree to have. But anyway, I ended up where I wanted to be anyway, so it worked out.
In many ways, you are an educator, and you could probably teach a course in marketing and communications with what you all do with MCB and the Little Mo.
Yeah, you all do so much. You cut your teeth basically at WCT World Championship Tennis back in the early 80s, then became tournament director for the Virginia Slims, running those events. I mean, those were some really big events in the Dallas area at the time.
Well, Dallas was really lucky to have had both the men's WCT and the women's Virginia Slims. It was amazing. To have that. And so people could see pro tennis. And we had the best. I remember coming over in high school in 72, I believe, was the Rosewall Laver at Moody.
The most famous 5-set indoor match ever, I think.
That's right.
That's right, because it ended up, didn't it go over to 60 minutes, the match, because it was 5-set, and that's what brought in a huge TV audience, and that's really started the boom, I think.
Big Sunday night and started the boom, and of course, you'd have to assist, give a guy like Borg a little bit of an assist on the boom, but 72, boy, I was a little kid at the time, and to watch those guys play tennis, unreal, so good, and the drama of going 5 sets, 4.5 hours, just so awesome. And that wasn't a slam, but it was as prestigious as a slam. We somehow throw that word around, the 5th slam, referring to Key Biscayne, Miami, or Indian Wells, or sometimes you'll hear it about one of the other events like a Madrid that does women and men. But this was just men, top 8 guys, and the best of the best. So huge kudos to you all for running that. That was awesome.
It was great. Lamar Hunt did a wonderful job in bringing tennis to Dallas, and he was sort of a separate entity in doing so. And it was great to have that. And sorry it ended in '89. It lasted for 20 years. Yeah. And same to Virginia Slims was 20 years. So Dallas was one of the fortunate cities to have had such great tennis come to town.
No, was Dallas really the epicenter of tennis? If you start thinking back about in the 70s with WCT, Virginia Slims of Dallas, or Texas maybe in general, you had the Houston, you had Gladys Heldman down there, you had the Battle of the Sexes. Do you think that back in the 70s and into the 80s, that Texas, was the epicenter of world tennis at the time?
I think so. I really do. I can't think of another. Of course, like Los Angeles would have a WCT Los Angeles and a Virginia Slims of Los Angeles. They would have that. But I think from having Maureen Connolly Brinker Tennis Foundation as the home base here, and also Lamar Hunt and Dallas, I can't think of another city that had as much tennis power than Dallas at the time.
Sure. Yeah. Wow. Now, how'd you, just out of curiosity, so growing up with 2 famous people in the family, Cindy, and your mom had the tragic accident, was a Grand Slam champion, the first lady to ever win the Grand Slam other than Don Budge. He won the first Grand Slam.
Calendar year slam, all 4.
And then your mom wins it in 1953.
Right.
When did you all decide to do the MCB Foundation? I'm interested to see kind of what the history was of the foundation. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and so first of all, Mom always discouraged me from playing tennis because she never wanted me to feel the pressures of following in the footsteps of a famous parent. Mm-hmm. But I did love tennis, and she totally supported that. And I was 11 when I started, but we moved to Dallas. I was born, as was my sister Brenda, in San Diego, and that's where Mom lived, and Dad was stationed in the Navy there at the U.S. Naval. There was a naval base there, so Dad was stationed there, and he was also practicing for the Olympics. Mm-hmm. He was on the modern equestrian team in the Olympics. So they met and they married in San Diego, and he was going to San Diego State for college, and then when he graduated, he met a gentleman named Bob Peterson who was starting this restaurant called Jack in the Box. Wow. And so Dad was enamored with Jack in the Box, and so became involved with Jack in the Box, and his responsibility was to expand Jack in the Box. And again, back then it was just a little kiosk. Mm-hmm. It wasn't the Jack in the Box that we see today, but Dad's responsibility was taking Jack in the Box nationwide. Well, they didn't have cell phones, they didn't have computers, email, text in those days, so literally you physically went and you helped expand. So we moved eastward to help Bob Peterson and his company, and Dad was president of Jack in the Box at the time, to expand this concept called Jack in the Box. And we ended up in Houston, and then Dad worked there, but then he decided to move to Dallas and start his own restaurant. So we came to Dallas in '63, and it was there then that Dad put his anchor down and recognized that Dallas was where we were going to have our home. And it was at that time that it was announced in the paper that Maureen, Little Mo, had moved to Dallas with her family, and Nancy Jeffett, who had been a very good tennis player at the time, she had been she played the U.S. Open, wasn't to the ilk of Mom, but still was a very, very good and established and nationally ranked tennis player, saw that Mom was in town. And Mom, when she had played way back when in her teens, her career just was 3 years, from 51 to 54 before her accident you referenced. She came from a single mother family. Her mom was a single mom, so they did not have the funds to be able to play tennis. So the San Diego tennis patrons always raised the money to allow Mom to go overseas to play Wimbledon or to play the U.S. Open or to play the tournaments. that she played because she could not have afforded that on her own. And because of that, Mom was so grateful to the generosity of the San Diego tennis patrons and recognized that had it not been for them, she would have just been a good player on the public court systems at Morley Field in San Diego, because she never would have had the opportunity to go and play and perform to the abilities that she had, because she couldn't afford to play the tournament. So she always said, after her accident, that she wanted to give back to the sport, and particularly what she wanted to do was to help promising young juniors, just like she had been helped. Again, Mom was always other-focused, not self-focused. So when we came to Dallas in 63, Nancy Jeffett came a-calling and met with Mom, and Nancy had the same heart. She wanted to develop junior tennis as well. So they merged their visions, they merged their dreams, and what they did is they started just some charity mixed doubles tournaments from like 64 until 68. So they played these wonderful mixed doubles tournaments at Dallas Country Club, raised money, and that money that they raised, they would give for grants to girls, to promising young girls to go and travel to tournaments. And in 1968, they decided to incorporate and make the Maureen Connolly Brinker Tennis Foundation a real not-for-profit. And what they were going to do, and I'll never forget this, and it's really touches my heart. It's a tough story, but the first thing that they were going to do as for their fledgling Maureen Connolly Brinker Tennis Foundation is they were going to award, which is still awarded today and is still the most prominent award that you can get at the 1800 Nationals, the Outstanding Junior Girl Award. So in 1969, because they had just incorporated in 1968, their first activity was going to be to award this Outstanding Junior Girl Award at the Nationals in Philadelphia, and it's still played there at the 1800 Nationals. And I remember Mom practicing her speech. Well, she passed away in June, and the award was given in August. So Dad and Nancy Jeffett and I went to Philadelphia to give that award out, and we gave it to a wonderful lady named Eliza Pandy. She was the first recipient, and that was the first real activity of the Maureen Connolly Brinker Tennis Foundation. Today, that award is the most prestigious award a junior can receive. And then the foundation just began in 1989, of course, actually in 1970, when Mom passed away. She passed away in 1969, but in 1970, these wonderful players, Billie Jean Kings and Margaret Court and Christy Pigeons and Linda Tuero, the players of the late 60s and 70s came to Dallas to play a memorial tournament in Mom's name, came on their own nickel. I mean, they paid their own way, and they played this memorial tournament at Al Hill Palladium's tennis court. I don't know if y'all remember that. That was on Spring Valley, just across now from where Northwood is. And they played for a number of years the Little Mo Memorial Tournament. And that money began, and that raised money to continue the vision, because Nancy Jeffett wanted to continue the vision of promoting and developing junior tennis. And that memorial tournament is what really propelled and funded these travel grants and these tournaments that the Maureen Connolly Brinker Tennis Foundation started. So from 1970 through 1974, this memorial tournament in Mom's honor in Mom's memory was played. And then in 1975, the Virginia Slims tour started in 1975. And because Dallas was already a popular stop for these women, these tennis pros coming to honor Mom, Dallas became a stop on the Virginia Slims tour. And what was really special about the Virginia Slims of Dallas tour is that these pros ended up staying with families. We housed them because the Virginia Slims allowed the Maureen Connolly Brinker Tennis Foundation to organize and to execute, to implement this tournament. tournament. That means every responsibility fell on Nancy Jeffett's shoulders. But she did such an amazing job, and she was such a motivator, and she had such a burning passion to continue this mission and vision that she and Mom had established. And I just appreciated her so much over the years for doing that, the players all came to Dallas. And so they came every year, and that is really what propelled the Maureen Connolly Brinker Tennis Tournament, the Maureen Connolly Brinker Tennis Foundation, and what funded all of our events. We had the national 14s, 16s, 18s at T-Bar M. We had two international events, the Maureen Connolly Brinker Cup with the top Australian girls, played the top American girls. We had the Maureen Connolly Challenge Trophy, the top girls from British, all juniors played the top U.S. girls. So we had really a roster and litany of events that was all funded by the Virginia Slims in Dallas. And then Carol came in 1989, and she was hired, but then all of a sudden we sold. After the 89 Virginia Slims tournament was finished, we sold it. And there Carol was, wondering what she was going to do next. Right, Carol?
Right, Cindy. I'd been at WCT for 8 years, and then Nancy's daughter, Sissy, had been running the tournament, and she got married, and they needed someone to fill her shoes, and someone suggested that I might be good over there, because I'd had experience in tournament operations for so long, and also sales and marketing, and it was just to be able to stay in pro tennis, because I had a feeling WCT was on its way down as far as, ending their tournaments. The ATP had, it's a long story, but, I don't know if you know all that vast history.
That's what I was going to say. Hey, can you go down that rabbit hole just for a second?
Yeah, when the men's Professional International Tennis Council took power and went to more of a unified ATP. Tell us about that story, too.
Please do.
Oh, well, it just, Lamar had with his handsome 8 in 1968, he really single-handedly took tennis to pro level, to where players were actually being paid instead of below the table, above the table. And he was an outlier, really, but he was just doing what he wanted to do. Al Hill was his nephew, who was a tennis player. They joined in together and wanted to create a place for these great pros like Cliff Drysdale and Dennis Ralston, different ones. It's called the Handsome 8 in 1968. So they started paying this Handsome 8. They were nice-looking guys traveling around the United States playing tournaments in gyms. I know at Centenary they played inside on the gym floor, not even a surface, it's just on the gym floor. But they were paid. And it was just a huge split there, that you had the ATP on one side and you had Lamar and his circuit on the other. So they just were running two separate circuits, and they never really came together. In the end, they wanted, I think, Lamar to pay $1 million to be on the ATP circuit so there wouldn't be conflicting events. And anyway, it was a big deal back in the day for that to happen. And Lamar had gotten into soccer with his son, Clark. And so he really created the Dallas Tornado, and the soccer boom really started with Lamar Hunt. And so kind of pushed tennis to the back burner, really. And tennis boom became the soccer boom. Tennis moms became the soccer moms. So he ended WCT in 89. And so I was, but before then, it was actually 90. Before then, I could tell things were not good. And a friend of mine over at Virginia Slims that, Sissy's married. Why don't you try over there and see? And I went over there, and I'll never forget. Cindy and I laugh about this, but, at WCT, we had a whole floor at Thanksgiving Tower downtown and 40 people. And so to go to Virginia Slims, I don't know if you know this, but Nancy operated the Slims in her garage apartment behind her house. The whole entire Slims. Wow. And so when I went over there, I was like, where are all the people? You know, I thought it was a joke,
You are
really.
the people.
But I couldn't believe it. But that's how Nancy Jeffa did a great job in saving money and having the whole operation. She worked on volunteers. Ladies that were in the junior league were her volunteers, and they did it like clockwork. They knew their jobs, from tickets to programs to ball girls to whatever needed to be done. When I'd call them, and I was very nervous because there was nobody. I had 2 months to put the tournament together because I was hired in July of '89. The tournament was in September of '89, and a sponsor had not even been renewed at that time, so nothing had been done, and there was no files, nothing like we had at WCT. Nancy just did it with her loyal ladies, and it came off like clockwork. I've never been so shocked that it was such a great event for Dallas. And we had Neiman Marcus box lunches, and it was just it was for a great cause. That's what I like, that it went back to funding, like Cindy said, travel grants, and just had a bigger mission working for the foundation. The fact that it was in her garage, that it was a labor of love, and it was a labor of love on my part too. And I had never heard of Maureen Connolly before I started working there. So, she was a little bit before my time. So I was just so enamored with who she was as a person and all the accolades that everybody talks about. And I just thought that's something that I can relate to, that I always felt about tennis, that it was such an honorable sport, and you can be kind, and you can still be a great competitor on the court, but off the court and on the court you can be a great sport. And that's what I wanted to pass along, when I don't know if we're getting ready to talk about the Little Mo program.
We are, actually. We are.
That's kind of where I led.
And let me just say one more thing,
Yes.
Carol, just to go back, and you articulated so beautifully, dear one, is that they were volunteers and they opened their homes. Again, that's so important. They opened their homes to these players.
Yeah.
So the players would come, and every week they'd go to a hotel, or they would go, to participate in the professional tournaments. But when they came to Dallas, it was like coming home. And so the players loved coming to Dallas, and still, for years, decades, kept up with the families who housed them. And it really was a lot. And they would come to all the player parties. They would come and say thank you to the sponsors. So there was a real integration of the players and the sponsors and all the ticket holders that had boxes. It was so lovely because it was so genuine, authentic, and just warm. And the players loved coming to Dallas. And I think it's because Nancy created that very warm and ingratiating environment that really spoke to the players, because they felt like they were coming home when they came to Dallas.
I love this, and I do want to get to the Little Mo, but as a transition, there is definite continuity, and I say this as a fan of men's and women's pro tennis, but as a local coach and a father of a kid who's played in these, there's a seriously common thread that goes from Little Mo's ethos, sportsmanship, and the way pros embrace Dallas, right on through to the way you two have run the Little Mo events. I want to ask two quick questions, and we'll go in order. The first one is, tell us a little bit about something that's near to our hearts, the connection between the gold standard of sportsmanship, and that's one of the words that you all use, and competitive advantage. In other words, you're a better player and a better human being if you're behaving as such. That's the first question, and sort of a two-parter here. I do want to circle, just slightly get back to, Carol, your experience with WCT, then pretty immediately to Virginia Slims. That might be a neat thing to talk about, is the current scuttlebutt of, or the idea that's not really a new idea, but the idea of unifying, merging women's and men's tennis, WTA and ATP. So handle those however you two want. Roll, go.
Cindy, you want to handle the Mo coins and the?
I'll be happy to do that.
Great.
That's great. And then yes, I'll start. Yeah. I'll start and you can finish. What Mom was, as we said, she was a a remarkable person who just happened to be a good tennis player. Mm-hmm. And it was her character that really embodied the spirit of Little Mo. And what that meant is she was such a great competitor, of course. I mean, she was number one in the world. She never lost a match her last year of competitive play. She won all 9 Grand Slams that she ever competed in. I mean, she was the best. So from a competitive, just talent perspective, she was the best. But really what marked Mom was her kindness and her wanting to give back and her wanting to imbue the importance of sportsmanship and the importance that you are going to be a person, a woman, a man, a lot longer than you're going to be a tennis player. In other words, you can be a champion on the court, but what is so much more important is how you conduct your life off the court. And being a real ambassador for the sport of tennis means, are you a person of integrity? Are you a person of kindness? Is your word your bond? Is your character strong and true? Can people rely on you? Uh-huh. Do you have an attitude of gratitude? Do you say thank you? Do you follow through on responsibilities? Those sorts of things. So what we do at the Maureen Connolly Brinker Tennis Foundation that is absolutely embedded in our tournaments is we preach the importance of giving back. We preach the importance of sportsmanship, kindness. We give out sportsmanship and kindness awards to a boy and a girl, a sportsmanship to a boy and a girl, a sportsmanship award to a boy and a girl, and a kindness award to a boy and a girl at our international matches and our national championship, because we think that is as important, if not more important, than hoisting the championship trophy above your head. Now, winning the tournament is amazing because these are the best 8 to 12-year-olds in the country. So it does speak to the incredible, gifted, talented elite players we have. But when we talk about and give out the sportsmanship and the kindness award, we really speak to the character of the young people. So that's really important, and parents really appreciate that. In our opening ceremonies, our speeches, we talk about having an attitude of gratitude, looking at your parents, looking at your coaches, and recognizing that, yes, when you're on the tennis court, you're alone, but there's a team behind you that supports you, that pays for your meals, that pays for your lessons, that cleans your clothes, that sacrifices to take you to these tennis tournaments. So when I speak, I always say at the end, when we finish this opening ceremony, I want you to go to your parents and thank them and have an attitude of gratitude to also the linesmen, the people who are running the tournament, to Carol, to Matthew, all of the people involved in the tournament. And what we do that I think is also really special is we have Mo coins. And these are little coins, colorful little plastic coins that we give out to players who are exhibiting great sportsmanship. When they say good shot, or they take their racket, and tap their racket when their opponent has made a good shot, or that just exhibit somehow, some way on the court, or really even off the court, that embodiment of Little Mo being a young man or a young woman of character. And our linesmen give out the Mo coins. Carol and I give out the Mo coins. A group of us are able to walk around and give out the coins. And then we have a big booth, a table with all kinds of fun things, from towels to lollipops to fans to pens, that they can redeem the coins for gifts. And that has not only does that reinforce the importance of sportsmanship, but it really has cut down on any missed calls, any cheating, any inappropriate behavior. It has really helped the kids recognize how important it is, because we preach it and preach it and preach it, and we have a code of conduct that they have to sign, and we're very strict. If we see any behavior that is not conducive to what we believe falls within the confines of our code of conduct, we get penalty points, and then we talk to the kids afterwards if there's a scuttle. We believe every child is redeemable, and certainly that's important if there has been an infraction. But the parents, the letters, the emails that we get saying how they love our tournament for its competitive value. But what parents really appreciate and coaches are the fact that we focus on the character side of the game, on developing these young people who, again, will be ambassadors for tennis, but their tennis career is going to be much shorter. Mom certainly was. It was only 3 years.
Yeah.
Was much shorter than being, are you a good wife in the future, a good husband? Are you a good brother, sister? So anyway, that has really been, I think, the hallmark and our signature for the Maureen Connolly Brinker Tennis Foundation, perhaps what sets us apart in that gold standard of excellence.
It is. It's literally all I've seen as an MC for an event, as a dad, and as a coach of several players who've come through. I'm proud to say that my father was a tennis professional and a coach and a great player.
Yes.
And he was most proud that my son didn't win the Little Mo Regional, but he won the sportsmanship medal at the end of the tournament. And that was a big deal in that tent. And my son is now 17, 3 inches taller than I am, and still plays with the yo-yo that's yellow with a little Mo logo on it.
Yes. Oh, thank you for saying that. I just really appreciate that. And I think that is important because your son is going to continue to be an ambassador for the sport and continue to wherever he goes, whether he plays professional, whether he goes to college, or whether he's a teaching pro like yourself, or whether he just loves the game and just speaks to the joy of the game. That's awesome. But thanks for sharing that, because that is really who we are. Thank you.
It really is who you are, and it's not just you two. It's Matthew. It's Natalia. It's anybody who has worked in your organization in the past 10 years that I've known you closely. So thank you for that.
Thank you for saying that. That means a lot. Thank you.
I'll pass that on to Matthew. He's
Yes.
fantastic.
He's fabulous. Oh, what would we do without him?
Yeah. And hey, let's shift gears over to Carol and to talk a little bit about the not just the WCT Virginia Slims transition, but the ramifications for ATP and WTA today.
Well, that's been interesting because back in the day, in 1968, Billie Jean King was really the first one to say, let's merge together the men and the women. Well, the men didn't want to do that at the time because the men were more popular than the women. Well, the women were just getting started, and they formed the WTA because they didn't want to merge. So now, all these many years later, Roger Federer, the Blue, tweets a few weeks ago, why don't the ATP and the WTA get together and have one voice, so to speak? And, of course, Billie Jean has, she's like 76 years old, I think, now, and so she is just beyond thrilled that she has lived to see this day, that if somebody like Roger Federer, the top male player, and then Andy Murray has chimed in, that he's all for it. So it looks like this might happen, which will be great for the sport because very few sports have equal men and women participation, and you can just speak with one voice, corporate sponsorships, television rights, and all. You can just be more powerful that way. And with whatever Roger says, things to get done. So I have high hopes that this will happen. I think it's fantastic. And everybody else, of course, the women are just so thrilled because the men seem to, carry still a lot more power. So it's still bringing in the women underneath. I mean, not as underneath their umbrella, but so to speak, but partners.
Yeah.
So we're excited. I think it's going to be great for pro tennis.
Tremendous, yeah.
I just want to know about that big trophy that you all put out in the Little Mo. The biggest trophy it's like 80 feet tall.
We incentivize well, don't we?
Yes, nothing like a big carrot. Everybody needs some incentive to progress to the next level. And then when I guess it was our 60th anniversary of Maureen Connolly's Grand Slam win in 1953, to have some kind of celebration in her honor for that, and to kind of bring back to people's mind that the calendar year Grand Slam is what's the big deal, not career slam, things like that. So anyway, I would always go to the Covenant Trophy Shop to do our trophies. Shout out to Covenant.
Covenant, good.
And I would always see these huge trophies, and I thought, gosh, which sports give those out? And I would see a pool table on top of one, and a soccer ball on one, and a race car driver, a car on one. I thought, God, tennis never gives anything like this. And I'm thinking, well, put the mirror up. What about us? What about me? I can create any trophy, really. And wouldn't that be great? Because I was thinking, what could we give somebody who would win the 3 slam tournaments, which are California in June, New York at Forest Hills in August, and then the big one in Florida in December? What could we give in honor of this and kind of create a little mini slam for the Little Mo players to shoot for? Because we have some of these most outstanding players, and at every level you need to keep the carrot out there, and it's hard to do, and this is hard to do. We've had 8 champions so far, and we've had a few years where we haven't had any champions. So basically I thought, well, I think, it should be 4 feet, then 5 feet. Then I thought, I'm going to have it to where a kid could say it's bigger, taller than Daddy. So
it's 6 feet tall.
So 6 foot, and the guy got out the book, and I sort of hand-picked all the little designs for it, and I wanted a picture frame on it to where somebody could, put their winning picture on it, and then have all the different, of the 3 sides on a plaque at the bottom of it, and what it says and what they win. And so it's not a perpetual trophy. It's a trophy they actually can take home. So it does break down into two parts. But luckily, no one from overseas has won it, so we haven't had to ship it overseas. Yeah. But it's a beautiful trophy, and it's exciting to see. And we've had kids win 2 legs, and then in their final match in Florida, lose it in the 3rd set tiebreaker. Wow. So it really does increase the pressure on the kids. And we also, Little Mo signatures, players play their own age. Like 8s play 8s, 9s play 9s, which is a little different than the USTA, which does the 2-year increments. But the whole thing meaning that Little Mo is designed to be fun and meet new friends, but it's also the pressure cooker is raised up for these kids, and it really shows. Like parents tell me all the time, my child's never nervous before a tennis match until they come to Little Mo when they're playing their own age group or something big like the big trophies online. So we're teaching these kids at a young age how to handle pressure. That's part of it, to play the big points well.
Yeah, and Carol, tell us a little bit, and Cindy too. Andy Roddick, CeCe Bellis, Coco Gauff. The list is just really, really big names. If you could, tell us a little bit about these players and any others that really stand out for you, and also the startlingly high number of Little Mo alums who are in Grand Slams these days.
Okay, yeah. Andy Roddick, I guess back in the day, the Little Mo it started in 1977 at Hockaday School, just a one-day Saturday event for little kids, and just 9 and 10. And they brought a sack lunch. It was sort of a Mother's Day out for the kids. And then over the years, in the 80s, it had expanded to Texas only. And that's when Andy Roddick played. And like I said earlier, I joined in 89, and then in 93, Andy Roddick was playing, and Andy lost in the first round of the tournament to no one. They came back the next year, won the consolation, then they came back the next year and won the tournament. So I thought he was going to be really pretty good, but he developed a great serve, which really put him on the map by accident later down the line. Yeah. And the players have just been it's just been so fun to watch, the Coco Gauffs and the ones who've come through, Ryan Harrison, the list is long, and so many great collegiate players as well. But Sophia Kennan won the Australian Open last year. And so we're starting to see a lot of top players coming through. And, it's a year-long circuit, rode the Little Mo Nationals. Our friend Kathy Eckel, Pro at Royal Oaks, is the one who kind of gave me the idea, because once we left pro tennis, I focused more on junior tennis, and I liked the Little Mo program. That one little event, I thought, that is so cute. I wonder if they have it other places around the United States. And I checked around, and they did not. And so I thought, well, Kathy's daughter, Tara, who was 5 at the time, we were, I know, time flies, that I asked Kathy, I said, I'm wanting to think of something to do with kids and this Little Mo program. And I said, what would you like Tara to do with her tennis? And where do you see her? She said, I'd like her to play locally. And if she does well locally, I'd like her to play other states, people from other states. And then she does well there, to play kids from in a national level, kids that are really good from New York or California. Mm-hmm. And so that was my plan. And I said, okay, we'll put a Little Mo in every state. And so Kathy said, no, you're biting off way more than you can chew. She said I didn't know much about that part of junior tennis because I've been in pro tennis, that the USTA had 17 or 18 sectionals around the country, and that's how it's divided up. So that's where I started. I tried to find a club in each section and created situation where the pros would actually run the tournaments themselves and give a little portion back to the foundation, but they would run a sectional tournament, and then the best players, the top 8 players in each age group, and I'd added more ages, 8 to 12. The top 8 would advance to a regionals, and there's 4 regionals in the summer. So the 18 sectionals around the country in the spring led to 4 regionals in the summer, north, east, south, and west. And from the regionals, there would be the top 4 would advance to the Little Mo Nationals. Yeah. So you would have the top 4, say girls 8 from northeast, southwest, leading into the Nationals. So in one location in Austin, at the Austin Tennis Academy, we have the top 16, girls 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and same for the boys. So we find out, that's what I want to do. I want to find out who are the best kids in America. Because so many kids are playing up at the time, like a 12-year-old would be playing in the 14s or even the 16s. They were talented, and they weren't really getting tested against their own age. Like when I grew up, you played your own age, and you knew who the best 12 was in America. So anyway, that's really how it started, and it's been great. We're in our 23rd year of the road to the Little Mo Nationals, and we've had great speakers come to our ceremonies. We've had Chris Everett and the Bryan brothers and Maria Sharapova. We have clinics. We have opening ceremonies where they parade around with their country flags at the internationals or their state flag at the nationals. Fantastic player parties with bounce houses, and we have a cowboy that comes and does trick roping and does a whole show for the kids at the nationals. Well, Texas Flair, and we do a gift exchange with the first round opponents. We think that's really a neat, special thing to meet a friend on the first day of the tournament. That got started when some Hawaiian kids came over and brought me some chocolates from Hawaii in LA and gave their first round opponents for the entire tournament a gift, and it just meant everybody's talking about it. I thought, well, we could start that, that way people have a fun little memory from someone from another state or another country.
Yeah, I loved seeing when a kid from Minnesota brought a gift to a kid from Texas, and the Texas kid gave him something like a jalapeno chocolate or something very Texas,
Exactly.
And the Minnesota kid was like, "What?
Don't eat it all at once.
I don't think
have
some water nearby." So it's just really grown, and then we added the internationals. Like 14 years ago, we have our Little Mo Internationals in Florida. That's our flagship. We had over 500 kids from 60 countries last year. So it's really been popular. It's sandwiched between the Eddie Herr and the Orange Bowl. So it's a lot of kids coming from overseas. And we have one in California. We didn't get to have it this year because of the virus, but it was scheduled to be at the Balboa Tennis Club. That was Maureen Connolly's home club where she grew up playing her tennis. So that we'll have it there next year, which will be exciting to return to her home club. Then in August, we have our Little Mo Internationals in New York, which is at Forest Hills, which is the home of the Maureen Connolly's final leg of her Grand Slam win in 1953. So that has a lot of history to it that the kids we make them wear white.
Yeah.
The club's rule is white, but it's a chance for them to kind of have the old school feel of what it used to be like. And so we have a full schedule, 30 events a year, so we stay busy.
We want to transition into talking about the future of the MCB Foundation, but before we do, hit us with a couple details. What was it like to give the trophy to a Ryan Harrison, whose grandfather coached you? And another question is about Kenan, who won the Australian Open. When she won it, was she Sonia or Sophia?
Okay, well, it was a full circle moment for me, for sure, having grown up with Coach Harrison. He was a football coach at my high school. And, back then, the tennis coach just was a side gig for somebody just to earn a little extra money. He didn't know a thing about tennis. And so they, amazing that he had 5 kids. And so by being not only the coach of the tennis team, he also taught me driver's ed.
Oh, wow.
It was amazing. But what he was a good coach, and we ended up doing very well, and he ended up being Centenary's coach. And it was just a full circle moment that he ended up, by not having any money to raise these 5 kids, that he had them all tagging along with us when we would play our tournaments.
Yeah.
And he ended up, through tennis, his side job of coaching tennis, got each of his kids, except the oldest one, full ride scholarships in tennis.
Right.
And so that really, to see Pat Harrison's son Ryan come through is full circle for me. And Sophia, she was always Sophia to us, and she was great. She beat Ingrid Neal. I'll never forget. Ingrid was going for 3 in a row, little known national titles, and we had never had anybody go for 3 in a row. And Ingrid came up against Sophia, and Sophia beat her, and her success has continued on. So we have high hopes for her.
Can you tell kids at that age are going to be successful? I mean, I just thought of that. If you saw a Kenan out there, do you see greatness in them at that point, or like they might be pretty good, or like, whoa, that kid's going to be really good? Have you? Because you've had so many great players come out of your tournaments. Can you tell that at that age?
I think you can tell a lot how good a kid's going to be by their strokes and their foundation, and how their footwork and their body build. You can't tell whether they're going to grow or not, but I think if they have good strokes, and thank you, AJ and Craig and all you guys out there doing such a great job teaching the good foundation, because sometimes, your wins, I've seen it so many times, people winning at a young age, and you never hear from them after that. Like a Jamie Hunt, say. He was one that always came through Dallas in our tournaments. He was always consolation runner-up or not even. And I could tell he had great strokes. And his mom was like, I don't know if he's from San Antonio. And it was a big effort for them to come all the way to Dallas for, spending hotel room nights and things. And I said, he's got great strokes, stick with it. And he ended up winning the U.S. Open junior doubles. So it's just, some people are late bloomers. And like, you've got this Akasha Urobo gal who won the Grand Slam, the Little Mo Slam 2 years in a row. So watch out for her. She's from Florida. So Cindy has seen her play, so she can attest that. I think she's going to be really a next up-and-coming star. She's like 14, I think, now. So, you can tell talent and prodigies for sure that are going to probably do well. They'll get a college scholarship. They may not have the mental aspect going on. They may, like Pat Harrison always said, his daughter Madison was better than Ryan and Christian.
Wow.
But she enjoyed going to slumber parties and having fun with her friends and didn't have the mental side. And so you just never know how all of it's going to line up. And you just hope that it will. But if not, you can become a tennis pro or be involved like I am.
Like you, yeah, both of you.
And I'd like to add, too,
Please,
that
Cindy.
what I see, what I look for is the heart and the fire. Because I look for the boldness and the confidence. I watch the kids who are down love 40, and they play with the same intensity as if they were up 40 love. And at this young age, at 8, 9, 10, 11, especially 8, 9, 10, yes, 11, and 12 for sure, just to see how their boldness, their ferocity on the court, are they filled with passion? Do they hit out rather than just moonball?
Right.
Because how many times have oh my goodness, a child is winning, and then all of a sudden his opponent or her opponent starts to come back a little bit, and then all of a sudden that player who was winning freezes out of fear. And my mom always said, you walk on the court with two approaches. You either walk on the court fearing to lose or wanting to win. And when you fear to lose, it's a self-fulfilled prophecy. You get paralyzed in fear. You can't hit your big shots. You lose your confidence. You're just fearful, and it doesn't allow you to hit out like you could under normal circumstances. But when you walk on the court wanting to win, when it matters in those big shots, you hit the big shots. You're not fearful about missing the ball. You go for it. You hit with confidence. And that's what I look for at young kids. I can't tell you a dozen times, 24 times at a tournament, I'll watch a child, and that child will lose because perhaps their opponent is moonballing them, and they're hitting out, and ultimately the other child wins just because of consistency. Mm-hmm. But I will go up to that other child, and just say, you just wait. You've got what it takes to be a champion. You've got the heart. And I'll point to there. I'll hit myself, on my heart. I said, you've got the heart. You've got the fire. Your strokes are good. But I really look at the mental and the emotional side of a child, because that is what's missing so many times. We used to have a lot of pros come to our home. My mom would coach some of the pros, the female pros that would take a week off the tour. And many times they just came from mom to coach them, to just help them get more mentally strong and just get back in the game, because they had the great strokes, but they just would lose it mentally. They would either go on a walkabout, or they would just lose concentration or crater or get fearful. And mom spent would spend a week at a time with different players, and just really coach the importance of being mentally strong and taking fear, throwing the spirit of fear out, and just walking on the court wanting to win and hit out. And so that's what I notice, and that boldness and that fire in their belly. That's what I look for.
What a great
they're playing for themselves, not for somebody else.
They are.
Want to win.
Absolutely.
Well, I think your mom was so totally mentally tough that our research department looked at her 9 finals. She only lost 1 set in her finals matches.
And it was in her first one. From then on, she rolled straight
every
sets,
time.
16 sets, really 17 in a row.
Right. That's unbelievable.
It's quite remarkable, isn't it? It really is. It's mind-boggling. And you know what's also amazing, and what I love about our slams, the children offering this 6-foot trophy to any child who wins our 3 international tournaments, that in the history of tennis, only 5 players have won the Calendar Grand Slam. 5 players. Don Budge was the first, and Mom. Yep. Then Rod Laver won it twice, both in the unopen era, and then he won it in the open era, and then Steffi Graf and Margaret Court. 5 players. I mean, you look at the greats, the Federers, the Nadals, the Billie Jean Kings, the Chris Everts. I mean, because there was always it could either be the court, the consistency on the court, maybe a person. Nadal tends to be the barrier of winning that French Open, because he's so good on clay. But it's amazing that only 5 players of all of our great pros, Sampras, Bjorn Borg, all of them, only 5 players have won the Grand Slam, the Calendar Grand Slam. So you've got to be mentally tough to win those, because as Carol said, the pressure. Even the kids who go, we watch those who are going for the third, and they will lose it. You know, it's heartbreaking, but it's just you can see the pressure beginning to mount. So I think we're excited that our tournaments really do promote good competition, but they're fun.
Yeah.
And we were talking about, you know, the player parties, and we want our kids to have fun and to meet people and make new friends. And it's amazing how many parents say they will start the tournament when their child is 8, and then by the time they're 12, they will be playing doubles with the young person that they played in the first round. I mean, last year, and it happens more than once, 2 girls were playing. One beat the other in the first round. So that propelled one in the consolation, and the other kept advancing. But then the one who was advancing lost, and they ended up playing each other in the finals of the consolation. They also, by the way, became doubles partners.
Friendship.
After losing that first round, they didn't have doubles partners, so they became doubles partners. They were warming each other up before the consolation match even started. I mean, that morning they went to warm each other up before they played against each other in the competition. I mean, it's so exciting to see the friendships that are established. So that's what gives us great joy as well.
You're both doing remarkable work, and that brings us to a question about the future. Carol, you did a nice job telling us a little bit about the near future of Little Mo. Cindy, maybe you can tell us a little bit about the future of MCB Foundation.
Thank you. Yes, and we're always looking at how can we do better? What can we do that even helps our players more? We talked. A lot of parents are in the world of tennis. They either are involved in tennis clubs or they're in some business that promotes sports or tennis. So we're talking with individuals about even expanding potentially to outside the United States, to perhaps other countries. We've had lots of conversations over the years, but we're very selective and very, very careful because we want to protect the brand, this very, very special brand that, again, certainly embodies the spirit of Little Mo, but also protects the brand that Nancy Jeffett, for 40 years, she held closely and protected that brand, and now it's up to us to make sure that brand is protected. So we are looking potentially at expanding to other countries, partnering and having sponsorships, and we're just continuing to preach the good word of good sportsmanship and kindness, and a lot of the players will contact MCB for school projects. So we what we want to do is keep Mom's memory alive, keep her the embodiment of what she does, because again her career is in the 50s. I mean, next year will be the 70th anniversary of her 1951 win at Forest Hill. So we're talking about 70 years. And what's so exciting, the stamp, that was issued last year, the Little Mo commemorative forever stamp. What was so exciting about that is that the U.S. Postal Service recognized Mom's impact as a pioneer in sports and, of course, in tennis. So that was a great way to continue to perpetuate Mom's memory and keep alive her legacy. So we're looking at expanding again to other countries potentially. We're taking it slow because we want to make sure it's a good fit and that we're crossing our T's and dotting our I's. We have some opportunities down the road, and just continuing to be very careful about our decisions and adding new sponsors. We're very marketing centric, and in junior tennis, sponsorships are tough, but we are adding new sponsors to our MCB family. They enjoy what we offer, and so that's really what we're trying to do, to broaden our sponsorship base, and then also look at other tournaments, and just to continue promoting the message of kindness, good sportsmanship. But the importance, as Mom would say, competition is good. It teaches you to pick your chin off your chest when you lose, and to also be a humble winner. And she said it's a lot harder to be a gracious winner than a gracious loser, because to be humble and to make sure that when you win, you keep that in perspective.
Excellent. CB, let's shift into the third set, the last
Yeah, if you wouldn't
set
mind,
here.
we know that we're right at about an hour. We want to respect your time, but we've got 5 really kind of fun questions. Would you all humor us and go with us
We love
on this
it.
journey? Good.
Yeah,
Okay,
a little
great.
character
And
development.
this is both of you. This is for both of you.
This
It's
is
not-
both.
Yeah, we want you to answer it separately. So because these are for both of you. All right. So if you had a dinner party and you all had this great dinner party, each one of you separately, who are the 4 people that you would invite to the dinner party? We're going to learn something about you.
Tennis people or
Doesn't
anybody?
matter.
You can go inter-era, inter-industry. You can
Inter-world.
dig back. You can go all the way.
Yeah.
You know,
Anybody you want to invite.
BC, anytime.
Right.
Any era.
Excluding family members.
Yes.
Excluding,
Anybody.
Yeah, okay.
Right. We've run the gamut. So
Yeah.
we're interested just to hear who the people would be, and you can invite your family and then plus. So that's
Historical figures,
Figures.
and of course tennis players.
sure.
Anything you like.
Okay, Carol, you want to take that one first, and I'll follow you?
Okay. I would invite you, Cindy, because you can keep the conversation going,
Excellent.
no matter who's at the table.
You're so sweet.
I
Love
would
you,
invite
sister.
my closest friend from Shreveport, Debbie, and I think Roger Federer would be absolutely, great to hear him talk. I think he's one of the greatest ever.
He's at our table too.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
I think if we're going back, Jesus.
It'd be interesting.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it'd be interesting as
Yeah.
well. He'd be one of my favorite guests too.
He's been on our show before too.
Oh, yeah.
He comes up in this answer. I love
Yeah.
it.
Yep.
Carol, what would you serve? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, what
would
are you
serve?
cooking? What are you
Are
serving?
we doing spaghetti and meatballs, steak, fish? What are we doing?
What was the question?
What are we
What am I
serving?
eating?
What are we eating? What are we having for dinner?
Oh, what am I having for dinner?
Yeah, people.
Okay, I don't know yet.
We're these folks. That's why we make tough questions. That's why people.
Yeah.
They want to know about you. What do you like
I'm
to serve?
trying to eat light during this virus, trying to stay away from the refrigerator as much as I can.
No, but at this dinner party. What
At
would you-
this party
yes.
with Jesus and Debbie and
The
Cindy
King
and Roger.
And Roger.
Oh, what
do you
am I
serve?
eating at the dinner? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought what am I having for dinner
No,
tonight?
sorry about that.
Oh, okay, I misunderstood.
Yeah.
My dinner party I would have it catered by Le Gourmet Ballet, my best girlfriend in Dallas. One of them, she runs that catering service, and he caters all of our MCB parties that you both have been to.
Sure.
So I would have her cater us a nice dinner with her shrimp and grits and her chocolate cake.
Shrimp and grits. Interesting.
Well, we can attest to it, and
Yes.
that was a nice and a graceful plug, but a nice one, and
Yes.
fully quality. Cindy, your turn.
Come on. Tell us
All
who we
right.
got.
Well, I would have my mom,
Sure.
because I've missed her.
Yeah.
It's been 51 years without that precious lady, and man, I miss her.
Yeah.
So I'd do my mom. I'd have my mom. I'd definitely have Jesus. I would have Mother Teresa. I would love to spend some time with Mother Teresa. And it's a cross between Winston Churchill and Federer. So I guess
Winston Churchill.
maybe I'll go with Winston Churchill only because it adds a little bit of a different mix, because I'm fascinated by him.
They have a lot in common too. So
Yeah.
good answers.
Well,
there.
he was such a leader, and
Yeah.
what he did in World War II, he took them through a very dark time. And, after World War II, he was not voted back in. He was a man for the time,
Yeah.
a man for the season. And many times, all of us, we have purposes for a season, and he was the man. So it would be Jesus, Mom, Winston Churchill, and Mother Teresa. And Carol, I'd let you in on the back door and have a chair for you.
Oh,
So
nice.
I would absolutely make sure my sister Carol could come, and my sister Brenda. And I like Carol. Becky Nelson is a star. She, the joke is, here's our family in the restaurant business, and the joke is I have vending machines in my kitchen. If you don't have a quarter, you don't eat. Cooking is not one of my specialties, although I'm mean on the grill. But when I have dinner parties, I do have them catered. And I would have Becky Nelson again with the Valet Gourmet come and cater, and have her chocolate cake for sure. But she has some wonderful meatballs, and she has just fabulous chicken. I would do that. Or if she was unavailable, I'd have Maggiano's cater it.
There you go.
I do love the rigatoni di at Maggiano's, but personally, I'm a griller. And last night I made hamburgers for my son, and but I would have it catered for sure by Becky Nelson and Le Gourmet. Gourmet Valet.
All right, favorite
Exactly.
movie. Favorite movie.
Both of you.
Both of you. What do you watch? What are we watching on Netflix or HBO, Showtime? What's your favorite movie?
Or at the theater.
At
You're
the theater.
open. You can go back
Well,
to the.
my first movie ever at the theater, this is dating me, but The Sound of Music.
Wow.
I'll never forget that. That's still my favorite movie of all time.
What about you, Cindy?
And I love historical movies that are about real people, and particularly ordinary people doing extraordinary things in extreme circumstances. And so Sound of Music is awesome. But I love Remember the Titans.
Oh,
I don't know if you all have seen that, but it's a true story.
It was set in Virginia, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah.
It was set in Alexandria, Virginia, 1971.
Look at that.
Exactly. And it was a time of a lot of racial integration, and the story of a coach, an African-American coach, who in his first season has to bring this racially integrated team together. And the music is fabulous. It's the Marvin Gaye, the James Taylor, the Cat Stevens, Temptations. The music was great, too. But I love Remember the Titans.
I love that movie so much, and I always joke that in the movie version it was Denzel Washington, and in the book version it was Denzel Washington.
Oh, I didn't read the book.
No, I mean I'm just kind of kidding, but it's like he was.
But he was a star. And Will Patton too is his assistant coach. But Denzel was amazing.
Yeah, and
he has to navigate a tough
I'm
time.
joking that Denzel was who they had in mind when the book was written. It was just so on, so perfect.
Got it. Oh, he was spectacular. I love that movie, and the music too is just fabulous.
Awesome. Yeah.
And y'all have seen the Little Mo movie, right?
Definitely.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yes, that's my close second, because that movie it's on our website if you want to watch it.
Yeah.
mcbtennis.org. Click on tournaments and scroll down to the popcorn box.
We'll
Great
throw that.
movie with Mark Harmon and Leslie Nielsen.
We will throw that link up when we
Yeah.
when we produce this and put it on YouTube and all that.
Yeah, Cindy's son is in the film business now in Los Angeles, so
Sure.
she has
producer.
access to all the good movies now.
Maybe we'll have a Little Mo movie. Interesting about the Little Mo movie, just a quick fun fact. Mark Harmon played my dad in the Little Mo movie. He looked a lot like Dad, and so Mark Harmon played my dad. Of interest, when Mom had her horseback riding accident, it was with a cement truck company, and the cement truck company was sued, and they had to have a character witness to attest that Mom would have, and she had just signed up to do a tour with Jack Kramer with Pauline Betts, and they were going to go around the country, because remember back in those days there was no money that was being made. So Mom was going to make a substantial amount of money for those times, so they had to have her attorney, Marvin Belli, who ended up, it was like one of his first cases, he ended up being a really outstanding and well-known attorney, had to find a person who would be a character witness to say Maureen would have been worth this much, and that the jury would believe in his testimony. The person he chose was Tom Harmon, who was the coach of UCLA, the UCLA football coach, who was Mark Harmon's dad.
Wow.
So Mark Harmon played my dad in the movie, and his father had been the character witness to my mom in this really sad horseback riding accident that abruptly ended her career like within seconds. Isn't that interesting?
That
It's
is
just a fun
wild.
fact.
That's really ironic. Yeah.
Wild, yeah. And neat coincidence, Mr. Belli's son was Melvin, and I taught his wife, Gretchen Belli, 20-something years ago back in San Francisco.
That's amazing. He was Marvin, right?
Yeah.
And his son was Melvin.
Melvin, right. Melvin was the son. Yeah.
That's amazing.
That's
Oh,
crazy.
yeah. It was one of his Marvin Belli's first cases. Very interesting.
As a young attorney,
Also young.
wow.
They were also young back then, exactly.
I think we were also young back then, too, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
A little bit younger.
All right,
All right,
CV.
besides your tournaments, what's your favorite tournament? besides your tournaments, the Little Mo tournaments, can't say your tournaments. So we know those are your favorite. But what's your favorite tournament? Like Indian Wells? It could be maybe the Jacksonville Open. Virginia Slims. Anything. What's your favorite tournament?
Well, of course, mine is Wimbledon. There's nothing like it.
Yeah, me too.
I've seen it. I saw it in 83 and 85. I saw Becker won in 83, and then Chris and Martina played in 85, and those are my three best memories.
I have to say the same thing, because that just meant so much to Mom, winning those 3 Wimbledons.
Yeah, the cathedral of the sport, for sure.
Even though we don't play on grass all that much, it's still, I think everybody recognizes Wimbledon as the top of Mount. It's the Mount Everest of
really
the tennis.
That's right, the preeminent of all the tournaments, the big one, exactly. Oh, she was so pleased with that. But she also loved the Australian, because the Australians were so kind to her. But Wimbledon, I have to agree, Carol.
What sport would you have played if it wasn't tennis? If it wasn't the great game, what would you be playing? What would you play? Just out of curiosity.
I think I would play golf.
Really?
I wish I'd started it earlier, and I think it's a great game. It's so challenging. I always thought it would be so easy, just hitting the ball. It was still, I had no idea how hard it was. So you never master it. And we never master any sport, really, but golf is amazing. When you change all the clubs and the surface and everything, it's just I just didn't ever have the time to do it, but maybe one day I'll have more time and can take it. I've taken lessons, and I really do enjoy it.
What about you, Cindy?
But it's not as fun. I love tennis. There's nothing like tennis.
Oh, yeah. First. We all agree on
Cindy,
that.
how about you?
What about you?
Equestrian events, or what do you think? What's your
Exactly. I think if my sister is a very respected equestrian. She rides on the West Coast, and I love to go and watch her ride. I have a healthy fear of horses. I have a healthy respect, should I say, of horses. But what I probably would do is cross-country running. I was on the cross-country team also at University of Virginia, again, because they needed women to play. And I really do love to run. And so I think I would love to do cross-country running.
Distance running in Charlottesville. You've got some hills over there.
Oh my goodness, it was crazy.
Yeah.
We don't have it here. Now, my fantasy would be to be an ice skater, because that's my favorite sport, the Olympics. I just think that would be so fabulous. But there is nothing about me that's graceful that would allow me. The one time I got on ice skates, I got stuck in the middle of the ice rink. But I just, as a fantasy sport, I just love ice skating. I think that would be so cool to be an ice skater.
Good answer. That's neat.
All right, last question here. This is it. The big question. You're the commissioner, both of you. This is going to be separate. You're the commissioner of the great game. What change or changes do you make? You can make one. You can make multiple. We've had a lot of different answers, a lot of really great answers. You're the commissioner. It's your game. What do you do?
Yeah, don't be afraid to dig deep. You can talk about pro tennis or junior tennis.
Sure, whatever you'd like to see.
Oh my goodness, we should be prepared.
Oh, we didn't
wow,
want you to
that's
be
a good
prepared.
question.
This is why you took an improv class.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Or is there anything? I mean, is it?
I think it's important to be equitable, and if you say you're going to do something, it has to be equal. And I think, again, because Maureen Connolly Brinker Tennis Foundation so promotes good sportsmanship and character, I think sometimes in the pros, the behavior to me is a little inappropriate, and is not called out. And I would have stronger guidelines on, cursing and the respect that the players show the umpires, and on sportsmanship. So I would set stronger guidelines on policing that and monitoring that. There's no way you could ever ask players to give back, to go to the events, but the young players today who are going to be who are rising to the ranks of professional, particularly maybe those outside the United States, don't understand, because that wasn't the way they were brought up, that it's important to also support and be involved and appreciate the sponsors. So I would, as a commissioner, again, I would request that players need to be more involved with just going to the parties, perhaps, and just thanking the sponsors. That's what made the Virginia Sons of Dallas so popular. That the players went to our events and were grateful, and it created such a great simpatico, such a great feeling of cooperation and support. I think I would. Those would be two things. I would try and focus more on the character of the sport.
Great answer, Commissioner Wayman. And Cindy, your turn.
Well, that was Cindy.
I'm sorry, that was Cindy. Sorry.
Cindy.
It's Carol's turn. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
No worries.
I would go to work for Cindy and help her do whatever she wanted to do, because it all sounded just like what I agree. I was around when the gals at Virginia Slims and the guys at WCT were at every party. They shook hands. They promoted the sport. I don't see that happening as much, and I think that's harmed the sport. I don't like to watch television and see empty stadiums. Do you see that?
Oh yeah, we see that a lot.
It's just getting to be embarrassing, really, to watch Tennis Channel and not see. You can count the people in the stands, and I just think that there's so many kids that tennis needs to reach out into the community somehow to bring in schools of kids that would love to be there, and people who maybe don't have means to pay the expensive ticket prices just to fill the seats and see what great athletes are on the court.
And those people filling the seats are going to fall in love with the game too. We want more of that.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly right. Exactly. We're fighting against so many other sports and activities that we really need to promote our sport and make it more popular like it was back in our day. I hate to drive by tennis courts and see them using it as the net as a backstop, like for hockey or rollerblading on the court or whatever, and pickleball. And I love pickleball, but I wish they were playing tennis. So.
If I was commissioner, Carol, I'd hire you to be my vice commissioner. How's that?
Well, you all do an unbelievable job.
Yeah, the best.
No, I mean, you all don't run tournaments; you run events, and that's what I think. What you all were talking about is they're not special anymore. They're just another weekend or week or whatever. What you all do with your events, what you've all been a part of with Virginia Slims, WCT, and now the Little Mo events. You run events and you make it fun. You make it memorable, and people want to be a part of it.
Yeah.
No,
Thank you.
I'm not trying to be gratuitous with my comments. I'm trying to say, for those who are listening, if because my son Chris has played in your events as well, and I knew something was special about what you all did, and to see that in action. I mean that I just think it's fascinating with the Mo coins. The sportsmanship trophy, the bigger, you all get it. And that's, I don't think a lot of tournament organizers get it. And that's where I would have you all run all the events. And I'm going to put you all up on that pedestal.
Let's do it.
And we're going to put you all up for commissioners of tennis and vice commissioners of tennis. How's that?
Oh, great. That's very kind, AJ. That's very kind. Thank you. But thank you for what y'all do. I mean, it's the teaching pros. We're a family. Right. Tennis is a community. It's a family. And we couldn't do it without you, because you bring your kids, your biological children, your own children, and then you're the players that you coach to our tournaments. And so we couldn't do it without you, and we treasure you. We truly cherish our tennis community. Thank you.
Well, the great game is great. It's just a big family. We're all in this together. Hopefully we'll get this back to some point where we right the ship again to where it's we have some U.S. players that are coming through the turnstile. Your events are just off the chart. If before we go, can you tell our listeners where again they can find if they want to get involved, if they want to be a volunteer, if they want their kids to play in your events, where do they go?
Okay, great. Our website is mcbtennis.org, O-R-G, and just go to tournaments, and then there'll be an envelope there that you click on that, and then you just add your name and your email, and you'll be on our database. And we send out, in fact, we're sending out a newsletter tomorrow. So it's a monthly newsletter, and you will be getting that every month, and to keep you up to date on all of our tournaments. And it's on our website, all the sites and dates. You can see what they were this year. Unfortunately, we had to cancel our sectionals and regionals and our New York and California internationals. We're still hoping for the Little Mo Nationals at the end of September in Austin, and the Little Mo Internationals in Florida in December. So we would love to have people that would like to volunteer, and any companies out there that might be interested in being a part of Little Mo, we'd love to talk to you and send you a PowerPoint. So,
yeah, that's been fascinating. We don't want to take too much of your time because we've been at about an hour and a half.
Yep.
And you all committed to an hour, so we went well beyond our scheduled time. But what a great night it's been. Just to
we loved it.
Well, thank you.
To understand more about Little Mo. It's the MCB Foundation. To know about you two a little bit more in depth about what you all have been a part of and where you're going. Thank you all. Would you come back? Maybe we'll get you back on.
Yeah, we got to do a part 2. Yeah. This was a blast, and I'm happy we talked sort of business and big picture, but I'm also happy we got a little fun pop culture stuff in there.
And we got more stuff.
We promise to do more next time. So you two have a great evening. Sleep well, and absolutely huge thanks for being on our show.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Such a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Craig. Thank you, AJ.
Good night, you two. Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Good night.
Take care.
All right, AJC, we better just do the sign off here. We appreciate everybody checking in on this podcast. So thanks for listening to Season 1, Episode 39 of At the Net Podcast. We got a really nice guest coming up next week also, too. We got Kenny Herman with the Pickleball Tour.
He's a big name.
He's a big name. Yeah, he's got very interesting thought process coming up for professional pickleball. But we've had a great evening with Cindy and Carol. Boy, that was awesome.
Yeah. Be sure and tell your friends, lots of friends, about our show. Like, subscribe, all that stuff.
Yep.
And hopefully, we like your people.
Yep.
Hopefully they'll like us. Yep. And that is the tennis news as it seems
to us.
Thank you.
Good night from the bunker somewhere in the world.
Somewhere in the world. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.